Hi, this is Camilo Gonzalez, and this is my mini speech 5 talking about the persuasive speeches, education or training based on persuasive speaking, chapter 16, and also Nancy Duarte, her sample chapter from online. And I want to talk to you about the difference between both of their approaches. They are very different, but they have some similarities. So let's begin with chapter 16. Chapter 16 is mainly more on the educational background and teaching us the different techniques. There's a lot of language that is not very common, but it goes over the history, it goes over just a lot of technical terms, but it's great material. Um, Chapter 16 tells us that, or it helps us understand that there's different types of persuasive speeches. It goes into detail on each one of them. It also advises us to identify how the audience thinks and feels and does. And we can do this by studying the demographics beforehand. So before we do a speech, we want to know who are we going to be talking to, meaning age group, male, female, middle class, upper class, so on and so forth. It also teaches us about the difference between an audience that's hostile or neutral, and how to get them to be open-minded to what we want them to accomplish, or implement the change that we want them to take. Also, it chapter 16 tells us to appeal the audience by illustrations, stories, nonverbal, visual. So we're using all media to get our point across and persuade the audience to do what we want them to do. Unlike Duarte, her main her main thing from her chapter or her teaching is to connect with the audience, to be interesting, not to hide behind anything. To me, it seems like she's very anti PowerPoints because she wants you to really engage with the people and have a one-on-one connection. Um, she says never to blend in, always stay notice, meaning stand out. Don't become one part with your environment. She wants you to be remembered. She says deep connections are what make great presentations stand out. To me, that would be kind of hard if you're talking in front of people maybe 100, 150. I would see that kind of challenging because how can you make a connection with 200 people at one time? Um, she also says you need to tap into other deeply seated desires, beliefs, in order to persuade, um, be a sharp thorn to prick their heart. In order to prick their heart, you really need to make a deep connection with each person, something that chapter 16 doesn't really talk about. Chapter 16 is more of a general broad of how to engage people to persuade them to do what you want. Some of the questions that we have to answer are: do you like Duarte's material on persuasion or the textbook? I like both. One, because Duarte focuses on the connecting with the audience and the importance of it, which I do believe that's true. But I also believe on using PowerPoint presentations to get your point across. Um, it says which is more realistic and helpful. To me, the textbook was more helpful because it goes over different scenarios and different techniques of doing speeches, not just basing it on the you connecting with the audience. I believe that connecting with people is more complex than just getting them to like you. There's first impressions, there's the visual aid that connects also with the audience. Plus, trying to connect with one person is much harder when you're trying to do it by yourself than if you put a slide that can really connect with everybody, that everyone can see. Um, what would you keep from the textbook and what would you get rid of? Um, Part of what I don't like from the chapter 16 textbook is that there's a lot of technical terms. It took me a little while to grasp everything, unlike Nancy's, who is very simple to the point, to where as you're reading it, you really know what she's talking about and what she's really trying to get you to understand. She's not trying to get you lost in history or words that, like for example, I never heard ethos and all the other words that are Greek and used on chapter 16. Um, so yeah, I think if I was able to combine both of their teachings, it would be great because everything to me is important in that aspect too, where the connection with the audience, but also the taking in consideration that PowerPoints can be used. Um, yeah, so that's what I feel about persuasive techniques and teachings from Nancy in chapter 16. Thank you.